Hey YouTube, this is the Chess Player's King, and I've come across this game I played just today, and this was a fairly good game. It was intense for both players. After the game, we shared some of our comments about the moves and what we should have done about each other's positions. Um, it was pretty good, so let's jump right into it. Uh, this is gonna be a long video too. I might have to break this into two parts, so just keep that in mind. You might have to click on part two or something. And my opponent, I'm not really sure what this opening is called, but I didn't study the opening a lot. Uh, and I did a computer analysis on this game also, so that should help us through this commentary. Here is just all about gaining center control. Um, the opening moves aren't too think aren't too depth and thought. But as you can see, I do have a lot of tension building up around this f7 square. So I do have to counter that, and so I push this pawn up, block the route from his bishop. His bishop can no longer attack. He captures, I capture, and now I have doubled pawns on the d file. That's not good, but as you can see, my center control is pretty good. I have two pawns and a bishop in the center, and that's always good. So he's losing tempo by having to move this bishop also. So he moves it. I'm into check now. I move my bishop. And the reason I did this is because I didn't want my knight coming because then he would have an extra pawn. And I didn't move my knight here because I didn't want to trap my bishop in there. He captured. I captured. He developed his queen. Very good move. He's attacking this g7 square, which is a big weakness to me in the middle game. And he's also attacking my d7 square, and directly, and sort of attacking my d4 square too. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right. Um, my next move was queen to b5 to a5, and this this did a couple of things. As you can see, my pawn is on this d4 square, and it's a very big weakness for him right now. He can bring his bishop to block the check, but more importantly, he is left a unprotected piece on b5, and he's in check, so he has to move his king or move a piece in front of his king. And his knight is threatened by this pawn if he were to move it out. But my opponent disregarded this, and he moved his knight down anyway. And he thought this out, and it was a pretty good move by him. Uh, the computer said different, but the computer said it was a blunder. But I can't see a real. Um, I can't see without. Well, all right. It's a bad. It looks like a bad move from the beginning. Um, then it starts to look like a good move, and then it starts to look like a bad move. So it's a bad move because now I can capture this pawn. But if I do, if I do capture this pawn, then I'm in a world of trouble because he's no longer in check, and now he's free to bring this bishop right in here and capture my knight. Um, if he were to just go ahead and capture my knight, then I'd have to retreat my king to f8, and his attack would be okay, but he wouldn't have an outstanding attack. Uh, so from like a very beginner's perspective, it looks like bad move, but from that position, he is losing some tempo, so it is a bad move. Um, I made a bad move. I should have just went ahead and captured it. Um, now that I look back on it, I hate I love going back over my games because they always show me something great. Um, so I should have captured, but I didn't. I castled to protect my knight, and now, as you can see, his knight's in danger, his bishop's in danger, and my g7 square is in a lot of danger. Um, my d7 knight is pinned because of his queen skewer, but from the computer's perspective, uh, yeah, like I said, from the computer's perspective, I'm still have a slight advantage, but as soon as I castled, it lowered my advantages. Um, so his next move is he captured the knight. I recaptured, and this he said this was a blunder. Also, the computer said this was a blunder, just because it gets my rook off of its central rank, and it does not protect this H8 square and the G8 square. So I probably should have captured. I should have probably. Oh, actually, the computer it said that I should move my king, but I didn't really want to give up material. So I captured. He moved his bishop. I captured his knight, and right now I'm a knight up. Uh, so I started out this game with a very good tempo. I captured his knight. Uh, he captured with his bishop, and now there's a couple of things. His bishop is now attacking this G7 square, and is attacking my queen. I can't do much about this. Uh, I looked into bishop to b4, but that ended up being a bad move. I thought about developing my knight, attacking his queen, but I ended up just moving my queen back, and I feel like this is a better square for my queen. It puts a lot of pressure on his f2 pawn, and it gives me this sort of like a rank. Yeah, it gives me this rank back here for my queen. I can always land a check here. I can bring my queen in here and stop his queen attack on my g7 square. So he castled, and this says the computer said this was a blunder also, just because I could bring my queen to g6, and after I brought my queen to g6, then he would capture my queen, and then I could move my I could capture towards the outside with my pawn, and then this pawn would be protected by this rook on d7. But then it would leave this pawn hanging right here, so that's not good. I developed my knight, and there was a couple of reasons I didn't develop it to f6, because if I were to have developed it to f6, then he could have. Oh yeah. He could have captured. No, wait. Let me think. Yeah, he could capture this knight right here, and then after I recaptured either with my queen or my pawn, um, then he could come down in here and take my pawn, and I would be in severe danger with with the threat of losing my rook. See if we go back and if I capture with my queen, it pretty much looked like the same situation. But so that's what I had in mind because I still wanted my if I would go back, I still wanted my queen to come to right here or possibly right here and or here even threatening check. So that's why I developed it to e7. So he took my pawn. As you can see, my pawn structure on this side is now corrupted, so that's not good. Um, my queen is pretty nicely centralized. Um, but I had to move my rook, so I moved my rook to this D file. I'm really eyeing down on this D file. I want to bring a whole lot of trouble to him. Uh, he captures my pawn, and I capture his pawn. And if we look at this from the in-game's perspective, if we take away all the pawns, I mean, if we take away all the pieces besides the pawn, he has two pawns, three pawns, and I have two pawns, one pawn, one pawn. And in the end game, it's always nice to have your pawns together because they provide a nice structure, um, almost in a diamond structure in the end game. That's always the strongest. So he has a very good pawn structure, and it hurts me in the end very severely. I am a knight up, but he comes back with a pretty strong attack. But we'll get to that. He captures my pawn here, and now I have no pawn. I only have 3 pawns, and he has 5. So if he wants to try to force this into an in-game situation, I move my bishop back. I'm really looking up to push this pawn on d4. Um, Also, I had thought if I had thought that I could bring my queen in here, check. If he were to have moved his king over, then I would have almost won the bishop. But just do the following: he'd have to move here. No, no, wait. Let me see. Um, he checks. I check. Moves over. Oh wait, wait. Never mind, never mind. That's what the computer said. Never mind. Okay, yeah. So anyway, this was the position. I checked him. He moved his king over, and I moved my pawn up, really putting pressure on his bishop. If you look at it, his bishop only has 1 or 2 squares possibly to go to. Come back to d2, or he can come back to e1. Any other squares thwarted, besides maybe c1, but that would be I doubt it would be a productive move. He he opted to go to e1. So yeah, so he opted to go to e1. I moved my queen over here. I thought it was a pretty good move because it attacks the pawn and it attacks the queen, and it also attacks this pawn right here. And what I had in mind is, I know he wants to get his queen over to my king side and start checking me. So I had in mind him coming to c4, checking me. And then when he did that, I thought I could bring my rook over to c7 and really put pressure on his c2 pawn. So that's what I had in mind when I moved that move. He captured, I recaptured. He starts pushing these pawns up to go to a development to queen. And now if we take a look at the pawn structure, I have a very isolated pawn and 2 rooks behind it. That can be very strong, um, but he has 2 pawns that are just crashing down on this side over here, and I have pretty much no defenders over there. So I push my pawn up. He captures with his rook. I capture back. He recaptures. I capture. And then he develops his bishop. And from this position, now that I look back on it, I shouldn't have played this move. I shouldn't have opted to trade bishops, just because a bishop is pretty strong in the end game compared to a knight. I should have kept most of the pieces on the board while in this sort of middle-ish end game. So I shouldn't have done that. I think I should have opted just to start attacking these pawns while I had pieces left. He moved his king up. Sort of a good move. I put my knight here, and he captures, and I capture. Now, if we look at the situation, 2 pawns, 2 pawns, a knight, and a rook, and a rook. So he has 2 extra pawns here, right here. So now my main focus of where I should attack is going to be these 2 pawns, obviously, because they're the most threatening right now, because he can push these pawns up and I'd be in a dangerous situation. So he moves his rook over. I move my knight. And yeah, that's what I had planned, this move right there. So I move there. And now I can now take this pawn or take this pawn right here. But when he moves up, I calculated that he cannot defend this pawn on g3 if I move right here. There, like, if he moves here, then I just check with my knight right here, and he'd lose. So he moved his king toward the center, and that's probably something else you guys should look at. His king is right in the middle. If it were to come down to a king race, he would win this automatically. Um, so I do have to rely on my minor pieces for movement. I capture the pawn. Now he has one pawn. That it was great if I could have just kept it up. He moved his king up. He's threatening this checkmate right here, which is sort of like a fool's checkmate. A lot of amateur players don't see it. So I checked him. He moved over, and I moved my king up just to get away from that because this was a 30-minute game, and I ran close to running out of time. That's how long I spent looking at this game. He checked, I move over, and he moves up right here with plans of trading rooks because it is very hard to stop a pawn development with a knight. And that's if that one thing we looked back earlier. I shouldn't have traded my bishop, um, just because it's really hard to get around with a knight. And since his king is so nicely situated, I can't allow my rook to lose. I can't allow my rook to be gone. So I move my rook right here. He checks. I move over, and the series of checks were just because